Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining another Pilates session. I do apologise that we're not outside today, but the good old British weather has put paid to my plans yet again. We're going to be doing a whole body session today. We use the whole of our body when we're riding, so it's good from time to time to focus on the body as a whole and not just taking one specific area. So let's get started. You need no equipment or anything like that today, just you. So we're going to start with you in sitting. And I'd like you to think about your posture before you start. So equal weight through your seat bones and that feeling of drawing up through your spine, right up through to the top of your head, and trying to be elastic through that elongation so you're not fixed and rigid. Make sure that your breathing is down into the base of your lungs and staying nice and regular. And then we're going to start by moving your head and neck, and we're going to combine some chin tucks with some turns. So you need to tuck your chin in just a little way, keep the tuck as you turn to one side, and keep the tuck as you turn to the other side. If you're keeping the tuck successfully, you should find that you can't turn all the way over your shoulder. If you're going all the way, that means you've lost some of that tuck. Also, just watch that you're not looking down or up. You want to be going straight back, so giving yourself as many double chins as you can. It's not an attractive exercise, but it is a good one for your deep neck flexor muscles. Lovely. And then we're going to face the front and relax a little bit. Then we're going to loosen off through your shoulders, so some nice big rolls up, back and down. This really is one of my favourite exercises to do if you are getting a bit stiff and tight at your desk or in the car, or even just before you get on the horse. It's a great one for just loosening everything off and making sure you've got no tension in your shoulders, particularly if you tend to use a mouse a lot or anything where you're using one side more than the other. Great one to do. Okie doke, now we're going to go down onto your front and we're going to start off by doing your breaststroke exercise. So you can do this in one of two positions depending on how strong you are feeling today. You can do it with your arms by your side, like so, or you can have your arms underneath your head. If your arms are by your side, you want to be thinking of drawing your shoulder blades back and down before you start. With your arms underneath your head, you can't really do that position. Whichever one you choose, have your head facing the floor. Bring your tummy away from that imaginary puddle of water underneath you and take your pelvic floor lift onto floor 3. And then we're going to bring arms, head and neck just off the floor and slowly back down. So check tummy position, pelvic floor, into that little lift and slowly back down. If you've got your arms by your side, you want to have more of a feeling that you are reaching for your toes as you do that lift. That'll help you to think of making a little lift rather than coming up into a great big lift. So this is a little lift, and one of the reasons we want it to be a little lift is because we want to be working the muscles through your upper and mid back and not so much your low back, which will give you that movement there. That's more of a hinging movement, and we don't really want that hinging movement. If you're keeping your tummy away from the puddle of water, you should then find that you can successfully just do the little lift through your upper back. We'll do 2 more of this one, it's quite hard work. And then we're going to turn onto your side. And we're going to start off with your clam. And you can do this with your feet on the floor if you want, or you can do them with your feet off the floor. I will demonstrate the feet off the floor version. Whichever version you're doing though, check that your feet are lined up with your bottom. Okay, so feet off the floor. I'm going to have my top hand onto my top headlight. It's good for a bit of feedback. Mouse hole open so that your spine is straight, pelvic floor onto floor 3, and then you are opening and closing that top knee, watching that you keep your pelvis level. So remember with this one, this is all about hip control. If your pelvis is starting to rock backwards and forwards, that means that movement is coming through your hip and your low back, not so much specific to your hip. So we're going to add in some extensions. Hopefully you can see my foot clearly on this side. It's not the best background in this room, unfortunately. Only to live somewhere where there was sun all the time, it would make life so much easier. As you're doing these extensions though, watch that your pelvis is staying still and you don't start to rock more. If you find that you do start to rock more, then don't do the extensions today. You don't want to do progressions and make exercises harder if actually you then lose the basic quality. Keep that mouse hole feeling, keep your breathing regular, keep the pelvic floor onto floor 3. I'm going to do a couple more of these. Super job. Okay, then we're going to prop up onto your forearm and we're going to do your side bend. So in this position now you need to be in the capital L, so straight line from shoulders, hips to knees, knees bent to 90 degrees. Pelvic floor onto floor 3, and you're going to synchronise lifting your top arm and your pelvis at the same time and lowering them at the same time. There are so many things we do on the horse that require a lot of coordination, a lot of synchronisation of leg aids and arm aids and goodness knows what else, and the bro. And practising off the horse is so useful for that. If you want to make this a little bit harder, lift your top leg and keep it lifted as you go through the movement. So this isn't technically any harder, but it is physically a little bit more demanding. Keep the breathing, keep the pelvic floor, keep the synchronisation. Now if you want to make it harder still, you can straighten your top leg at the same time. So now we are making it technically harder because you're synchronising arm, leg and pelvis all together. Still with the regular breathing, still with the pelvic floor, and still keeping the nice, smooth control. So we'll do 2 more. Fabulous. Okay, we're now going to turn onto your back and we're going to do your shoulder bridge. So no headrests for this one. And we'll start a couple of nice straightforward ones just to get your brains in gear. So you want your feet and knees approximately hip width apart. Arms onto the floor beside you, pelvic floor onto floor 3, then roll back through your tummy so you imprint your low back into the floor, and then peel up each vertebrae one at a time until you get to the very top. Make sure you can do a nice relaxed breath in and out at the top and then start to come down every vertebrae one at a time through that imprint and to neutral. So it's pelvic floor, roll back and imprint, peel up each vertebrae one at a time, and then as you come back down, every vertebrae one at a time through that imprint. Okay, then we're going to take your arms up so they're pointing up to the ceiling. Try to keep your hands over your shoulders, and then you're going to peel up. Again, make sure when you get to the top that you can do some nice relaxed breathing, and we're going to do your hip dips in this position. So you're dipping one side of your pelvis and back up, and then the other side and back up. Keep your hands over your shoulders. So what we're testing here is your body's ability to stay soft through your hands, otherwise known as your contact, whilst the rest of your body is working quite hard and moving. So here we are moving your pelvis, trying to make sure you just move that one side at a time, that you're not spinning around the middle of your pelvis, one side at a time, but your hands stay still and your hands stay soft. This is where your independent seat starts to come into play. I like to think actually of independent seat and independent contact. Makes more sense to me to have them both as independent. Okie doke. Let's then bring your shoulder bridge back down through your imprint. Bring your arms back down, and we're going to finish off by doing some with your legs instead. So once again, pelvic floor, roll back to imprint and peel up. This time you're going to stay in this position. Make sure your breathing is still relaxed and regular, and we're going to do some of the leg extensions. And as you're doing this, you may find it helpful to have your hands onto your headlights so that you get that feedback. Is your pelvis staying still? So earlier on it was pelvis on the move, hands staying still. Now we've got legs on the move, pelvis staying still. Keep that breathing very regular. Keep your pelvic floor onto floor 3. And do one more with each leg. And then again, make sure you come down every single vertebrae one at a time through your imprint to finish. We're now going to move on to doing your scissors. And again, if you want to have your hands onto your headlights for a little bit of feedback, that is a very good idea. You can choose which level you go from, but whichever one you do, same starting position. So if you've got a spiky ball handy, pop it on your tummy. Otherwise, just be thinking ribs down to pelvis, and that'll help you to keep this bit of your body nice and still. Pelvic floor onto floor 3. And if you're going for the level 1 version, you're bringing each leg up in turn to that tabletop position, always moving from your hips and trying to keep your knees at around 90 degrees. If you want to do the level 2 version, starting from tabletop and you're coming down and back up with each leg in turn. You'll find once you move up to the level 2 version that rib position becomes even more important, because if you let go through your ribs, I am exaggerating, but you'll find that your ribs start to creep towards the ceiling and you let go through your abdominals. Once again, you're moving from the hip and try to keep your knees at 90 degrees. So if you don't keep your knees at 90 degrees, this is what tends to happen, which is a completely different exercise and doesn't work your hip muscles, your tummy muscles at all, really. Keep the breathing, keep the pelvic floor. Super job, okie doke. Last 2. Okay, we're now going to turn onto the side that you haven't already been on. So I'm going to spin round. I'm going to start off once again with your clam. So again, you can choose which position you go for. You can have feet on the floor or you can have them elevated. I'm going for elevated, but again, whichever version, feet lined up with your bottom. Mouse holes open, pelvic floor onto floor 3, and we are opening and closing that top knee. Keep the breathing regular, keep the pelvic floor onto floor 3, and nice stable headlights so you know that all that movement is from the hip, not the pelvis and the back. And then we're going to add in some extensions. Hopefully I'm not going to take out my chest of drawers in the process. The perils of doing Pilates in the house. Keeping the mouse hole, keeping the pelvic floor, keeping the breathing, and keeping that headlight nice and still. You'll probably find that you're starting to get a little bit tired in your glutes now. That's okay, we're not going to do hundreds more. If you're getting really sore, really tired, then of course by all means stop. Last one. Super job. Feet down, and we're going to pop up onto your side bend. Just a little note there, if you do find that you're getting sore and tired and I still haven't finished the exercise, then don't worry, you're allowed to stop. You don't have to keep going for the same number of repetitions as me. I think I am going to run out of space for this one. So over we go to here. Side bend position, so straight line from shoulders, hips to knees. Knees bent to 90 degrees, top arm onto your top side, pelvic floor onto floor 3, and we're synchronising once again that lift and lower. Hopefully my head and arm don't disappear too much into the gloom behind me. Keeping the pelvic floor, keeping the breathing nice and regular, looking for that synchronisation and watching that you don't land with a plop. If you want to make it a bit harder, we'll lift that top leg and off you go again. So still with the breathing regular, pelvic floor staying active. Watch with this one that you don't take a breath in as you go into the lift. So if it helps, remember you can talk to yourself or sing to yourself if that just makes it a bit easier to keep your breathing steady and regular and not tied to the movement. If you then want to make it a bit harder, you can add in your leg extension. Give yourself a little bit more space once again. I think we've all got quite good during lockdown at exercising in a confined space, but even so, every now and again you still find yourself completely running out of space. So keep that pelvic floor, keep the breathing regular, and don't land with a plop. Super job, we can do 2 more. Last one. Fabulous. Okie doke. We're now going to go onto your hands and knees. This is where I may well disappear slightly from your shot, but hopefully not too much. We're going to finish off by really just mobilising through your spine a little bit. So we're going to do some kneeling rotations. And you need to start with your hands under your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. You're taking one arm up. Look at your hand as it goes up so that you really open up through your spine and bring that hand back down. Same to the other side. So look at your hand as it goes up and come back down. I love this exercise. It's great for getting really good rotation through the whole of your spine, particularly if you look at your hand, because then you're getting your neck involved too. And because your pelvis is quite fixed, it really maximises movement through your spine. Your pelvis can't come with you. You have to move through your spine. It's also really good for strengthening. Some of the lying down ones, we don't get so much strengthening effect. This one you get a good strengthening effect too. One more each way. Super job. Okay, then we're going to come up, so into proper upright kneeling. I'm going to stay sideways because we're going to do your hip flexor stretch to finish. So 1 foot up in front. Get yourself comfortable and balanced in this position. Then with your headlights, tilt upwards towards the ceiling. Keep that upwards movement as you push forwards. And then ease back off. And then again, tilt upwards and push forwards and ease back off. I'm going to do one more, so tilt upwards with your headlights and push them forwards and ease off. Then we're going to swap and do the same thing on the other side. So again, get your balance before you start. Never good to start whilst you're still trying to find your feet. And again, tilt headlights upwards and push forwards and ease back off. And again, tilt upwards, push forwards and ease back off. One last go. So tilt the headlights upwards, push them forwards and ease back off. And we are going to leave it there. Thank you for joining. I'm so sorry that a little bit cramped and not quite the nicest of environments for working in today, but I hope you found it useful. Hope you found it enjoyable anyway. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I will see you on the next session.